So I assumed this office based upon the proclamation by His Excellency the President in the opening of Parliament that revamping the public service is critical to the delivery service of the medium-term national development plan. And as such, this ministry was created. Since then, we have been engaged in numerous activities to lay the foundation and the premise for which we will take off for the actual reform and revamping of the public service. Last year in December, I presented a cabinet paper in Parliament requesting that all MDs who have not done management and functional review for the past 5 years should do so. The second request I made was that the National Steering Committee of the Public Service be activated. And the third request prayer I presented to Cabinet was that all MDs who have done their management and functional review with approved mandates and responsibilities need to make sure that those mandates are gazetted so that they have the legal onus to undertake government activities and use government resources without hindrance. The resolutions and the conclusions were approved by Cabinet, and that's why this is one of the reasons why we are here today. The Public Service Reform Unit has the moral responsibility to undertake take reforms processes in the public service. And I requested for a management and functional review, being that we are transiting from the Ministry of Political and Public Affairs to the Ministry of Public Administration and Political Affairs. And so that transition needs to be documented in order for us to define our vision, our mission, the mandate, our area of responsibilities, but more importantly, our organogram, the new administrative and technical structure that will give us the platform for us to be able to undertake the reforms. There are several institutions operating under the public service who have the regulatory power and the technical authority to regulate the entire public service, and that the Public Service Commission, the HRMO, the Cabinet Secretariat, and the PSRU has the authority to do the reform. So today we are here to witness a document we have worked with over time. PSRU did what they did. We were interviewed, all of us were part of it. Data was collected. The first report came. We did our administrative response. We came again, we sit on it. Another administrative response was done. And today we are seeing the document ready for public consumption. The ministry is moving after today. We now have the authority, the legal mandate to operate as a ministry of public administration and political affairs. Although we still need to make sure that it's gazetted, but I think the PSRU can now give us the Nike, to go ahead with our activities. Some people may want to ask, really, what this ministry is all about? Why the change of nomenclature from Minister of Political Affairs and Public and Political to Minister of Public Administration? I want to give a big background, so just permit me, Mr. Director. No problem. I know all of us have heard about the African Peer Review Mechanism, the APRM, and the APRM is an outshoot of the NEPAD, the New Partnership for African Development, and the NEPAD is the blueprint for the overall development of Africa. So NEPAD is an institution that was given the responsibility to develop a blueprint document, for example, a development agenda for Africa. And they were able to put together the Africa Agenda 2063, which we name as the Africa We Want, meaning what Africa do we want to see by 2063. And this document has 6 aspirations. The third aspiration was governance, inclusivity, human rights, and strong institutions. So the APRM was established as an institution to monitor and help in the implementation of the aspiration 3 and part of aspiration 4 that has to do with good governance. So being that His Excellency the President in 2019 was elected as the leader, the chair of the APRM Committee of Forum of Head of State and Government, he submitted a proposal then to his colleagues peer. Every 2 years, the AU will agree on a key topic for Africa. In February this year, when we went for the AU summit, the African Union declared the next 2 years as the year of education. In 2020, it was declared by when the president submitted his proposition. During that period, it was agreed that the theme for the AGR report should be the fourth industrial revolution. But because of the spate of unconstitutional changes that was taking place during that period, His Excellency the President, as the chair of the forum, requested that that theme be changed to the unconstitutional change of government in Africa, and it was approved. Then a review was done by the APRM, and that review, Sierra Leone was one of the 11 countries that participated. 10 of the other African countries were countries that are presently under unconstitutional change of government. While Sierra Leone, being that Sierra Leone is a democratic country, but we have seen it all. We have that experience. We have survived 7 military coups. We have had a 21 years of dictatorship of one party state. We have gone through 5 democratic elections in this country, and we have gone through 2 peaceful transition of power from the opposition, from the incumbent to the opposition. And our president has 20 years of experience in all these things I've said. Military coup, the one party state, he was there, he was part of a coup. He was the one that ushered in democracy. He was the one that brought in the rebel leader out of the jungle, and he handed over power and went back. And in 2018 he came and he was elected as the president of Sierra Leone. So I think Sierra Leone has a unique history to contribute to that review process. One of the key findings of that AGR report was that the major factor driving unconstitutional change of government in Africa is as a result of our public administration. We have not been able to strengthen our public administration for service delivery, for effective service delivery system. So, the recommendation, one of the priority recommendations was that member states of the African Union and the APRM should endeavor to reform their public administrations. Then the president, as the chair, he was the one that submitted this report to his colleagues president. So when he was re-elected in June 2023, June 23rd, 2023 election, he made it a priority that he's going to revamp the public administration of Sierra Leone by creating a Ministry of Public Administration as one of the big 5 game changers of the medium-term National Development Plan 2024 to 2030. So this is one of the history behind the establishment and having the revamp of the public service architecture. So it's a continental recommendation, and the president, believing in the fact that we cannot deliver, we cannot feed saloon, we cannot achieve human capital development if we don't review and reform our public administration. So, we are on the move. We want to attract the best of professionals in the public service. The government is spending 22% of its annual budget into free quality education. And the reason behind it is to get the best of our skilled labor and our professional young people to be able to come into the public service and deliver. So if we spend 22% of our budget, which is taxpayers' money, on people, and we are not able to create that opportunity to employ them so that they can contribute to national development, meaning we are wasting resources unnecessarily. And what we'll be experiencing is human capital flight. Our best of professionals leaving the country for greener pastures, and we don't want that to happen. So if we don't want that to happen, then meaning we need to reform and open the space, create the opportunities for our young people to be able to be innovators, to be able to be entrepreneurs, to be able to come into the system and be able to contribute to national development. So the MFR report is going to give us the space and the platform for us to start the drive. Is the MFR the only work we have done? No. So while we are still waiting for the MFR report, we have taken up, in partnership with the Public Service Reform Unit, there are management and functional review underway. A lot of MDAs have requested, including the Chief Minister's office. So if you go there, you will see a complete review of the Chief Minister's office. We have started collapsing certain institutions, certain commissions, because the President has made it clear that we need to have a lean public service. Lean public service with a professional lens. We need to cut down on the wage bill. And we all can agree that there are duplicating functions, there are duplicating responsibilities, there are duplicating roles, there are duplicating mandates between ministries, departments, and agencies. How do we make sure that we do that harmonization and rationalization to be able to cut down on the wage bill and cut down on the budget and make sure that we're able to deliver? So one key example I can give is the decentralization secretariat. By management and functional review done by PSRW, it had been recommended that it now goes as a department under the Ministry of Local Government and not an agency any longer. The National Council for Civic Education and Development is now going as a department under the Ministry of Information and Civic Education. So it's no longer going to serve as an agency, and we'll continue on this way. So that's why we have what again have we done? We have done study tours across Africa, because this is the first time Sierra Leone is taking a holistic approach to public service reform. Public reforms have been done in the past 20 to 30 years, but it has been in silos. It has been sectoral reforms. But now we are looking at a holistic approach to public service reform in order to position the public service for delivery. So meaning, we need to go and study on how other countries in Africa has done it. So we were in Egypt, we have been in Kenya, we have been in South Africa, we have been in Namibia, we have been in Ghana and other countries, to be able to understand how they went with that. Ghana is one of the countries that has one of the best public service in Africa. The reason being, their first president studied public service in Lincoln University, and when he returned to take over the leadership of Ghana, he brought some of his colleagues from the university, and they were able to set the public service of Ghana, from which most of us were copying now. And we want to do the same. So why are we taking the expertise from Africa? Because it's easy to coin those expertise, because our cultures and traditions are similar in Africa, and we need to utilize what we have in Africa. We are also presently developing a national transformative strategy. We need to get a document to which all of us will look and see where we want the public service to be in the next 5 years, in the next 6 years, in the next 10 years. We need to have a national transformative strategy that will give us a guide as to, for the different sectors under the public service, who they want to be, what they want to be. For example, the judiciary. What kind of judiciary do we want to see by 2030? What kind of parliament do we want to see by 2030? What kind of executive do we want to see by 2030? What kind of civil service do we want to see by 2030? So that document will give us an insight. And from that document, the different sectors of the public service now will now draw their own national strategy for implementation, and make sure that the ministry and the PSRU will be able to measure the achievement over time. What we are also doing, we are presently also developing the public service policy that will lead us to the Public Service Act. It will interest you to know that we have never had one Public Service Act in this country. It has never been. And that's why the Public Service Commission had been silent over the public service. They were focused more on dealing with the civil service, because there is no document that defines who the public service are. And so we are developing presently a public service policy that will lead us to an act funded by the European Union, so that we can have the first generation public service act in Sierra Leone, that will establish an organizational structure, an administrative structure for the public service, while at the same time be able to tell us how we are going to administrate. the entire public service in Sierra Leone. We are also finalizing the review of the 2011 Civil Service Code Rules and Regulation. It is obsolete. We know that in 2022, the Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Act was passed in Parliament, which gives power to women to be represented at all levels, not less than 30%. We need to see that in the civil service. We need to see that in the public service. There is this now in the Youyi Act. Men should now go on paternity leave or paternal leave. Men should now go on paternal leave. If your wife gives birth to a child, you also have to go on paternal leave. It's not in the 2011 code. In the 2011 code, the maternal leave is 3 months, and the Youyi Act is talking about 6 months. That needs to be reflected in the new civil service code. And there are a lot of other changes that need to be done. We have almost finalized that one. Hopefully by May, that document will be in cabinet for its review and approval. We are also presently trying to undertake what we call a manpower audit. You cannot do reforms if you don't know what you have at hand. We have the medium-term national development with 5 big game changers. We don't know if we have the capacity to deliver. We don't know. We don't know with the number of civil servants and public servants that we have that can deliver on this medium-term plan. Ministers have signed performance contracts. Do they have the capacity at their different ministries and agents to deliver on this performance contract? We need to understand. Do we have excesses in other ministries? And you have other ministries that do not have the right number of staff with the adequate capacity to deliver on the performance contract. We want to understand this so that we can do staff rationalization and harmonization, reallocation, among the MDAs so that we'll be able to deliver on the performance contract. But holistically, do we have that civil service? Because the civil service is the administrative wing of the public service. Do we have that manpower to drive the medium-term national development plan? We don't know. Yes, there is the roll call, but we want to make sure that we have the data raw, so that we can do several analyses. We can do trend analysis, we can do age analysis, we can do capacity analysis, we can do the allocations around ministries, analysis. So we can use the raw data collected in the field to do a lot of analysis and be able to come out with a capacity building framework for the entire public service, starting with the civil service. So we know in the next 5 years, we need to train 50,000 procurement officers. In the next 5 years, we need to build the capacity of our senior assistant secretaries. In the next 5 years, we need to build the capacity of our accountants. In the next 5 years, this is the kind of training we need to provide and we need to invest in, and we'll be able to map out where we can get those resources to do that training. But if we don't do that kind of survey and get that understanding, we'll not be able to develop those documents. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is how far we are doing. We are quite in our corner, but with the support with the PSRU, the PSC, the HRM, and the Cabinet Secretariat, I can assure you that we'll get there. Resources are tight. Changes is not an event. It's a process. And for us to start seeing the outcome of what we'll be doing will not be the next 1 year, will not be the next 2 years. We're going to be gradual. But we want to assure you that with the time and the resources at our disposal, we'll be able to deliver. So the MFR is just one out of so many activities that are underway. So if somebody is asking, what is the ministry doing? This is what we are doing. And we are now coming from the cold to engage the front line now. And with the MFR, we now can engage the front line. And finally, tomorrow, the PSRU, in collaboration with the ministry, is starting a national talk, a national sensitization agenda on the public service reform. We are now engaging the public. We want to drive the public along. We want to take everybody along so that everybody knows what we are doing. So from tomorrow, we have our first lectures at the Central University at my 91. On Saturday, Independent Day will be at Unimac in McKinney. and the 6th, 7th, and 8th will be in Njala Mokonde campus, Njala Toama campus, and Kenema University. And we'll continue after that. We are going to engage the public so that we actually make everybody understand what we want to do, how we want to do it, and get feedback from them to help us in this drive. So I want to thank all of you for coming in to observe this very important ceremony. And I want to thank the PSRU for the bold step, for the tight schedule. I want to say thank you very much for the patience. It started rough, but thank God we have aligned ourselves, and they are the technical team that will be working with the Ministry of Public Administration, while the PSC and the HRM, they would be the administrative team that will be. So I think we have to, people need to understand this. The ministry is not an implementation ministry. We don't implement. What we are doing is providing the technical and political lead for the public service reform. We mobilize the resources, we make sure that we develop the concept, we come out with the best of experts, we make sure that we drive the process, but we make sure that the institutions themselves are going to do the reform. So we are going to provide the resources at their disposal, and they are going to, and that's why we have the PSRU as the technical wing that will be responsible for most of the policy reviews, the institutional reforms. That's going to be critical from their end. The internal dynamics, the result-based management, the competency framework, the capacity building, needs assessment, and all those ones, you have the PSC, the HRMO, the wages and compensation, harmonization, and all those ones. Now you have those institutions that undertake that one with the supervision and coordination of the ministry. So I want to say thank you very much, and looking forward to what is in this document for us as a ministry. Thank you. Yes, sir.
So, okay. Okay. So, on behalf of the leadership and technical team of the Public Sector Reform Unit, I wish to register my sincere appreciation to the Honorable Vice President and the leadership of the Public Service and Civil Service for setting the pace for the conduct of the management and functional review of the Ministry of Public Administration and Political Affairs. Today, we are gathered here to present the management and functional review report that would formalize the full operationalization of the Ministry of Public Administration and Political Affairs. The creation of this ministry, as stated by the Honorable Minister, was born out of His Excellency the President, Julius Maada Bio's desire to align the 5 big game changers with sectorial ministries to provide policy directives for monitoring, coordinating, and facilitating the policy cluster. Following the re-election of the President in June 2023, the erstwhile Ministry of Political and Public Affairs was renamed with a new mandate to provide political and technical leadership in revamping the public sector architecture. The new mandate aims to address the issues of efficiency and professionalism in the service delivery, and also promoting transparency and fostering citizens' participation. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, this report presents the result of the management and functional review conducted by the Public Sector Reform Unit and commissioned by the Honorable Minister himself. The review was conducted in line with the decision of a technical working group that was chaired by the Honorable Vice President, which calls for a functional and structural review and an in-depth analysis of the ministry to determine its overall capacity, operational productivity, and also to determine the extent to which it can effectively deliver on its mandate, policy agenda of the government of Sierra Leone as articulated in the 5 big game changers and enabler 2 of the medium-term National Development Plan 2024 to 2030. From this premise, ladies and gentlemen, the management and functional review is framed within the need to heighten the image and feasibility of the ministry, whilst equally positioning and strengthening it within necessary resources to deal with myriad of public sector reform challenges. These include the ministry will examine its mandates, management and operational structures and functions to prevent overlaps with like-minded institutions. So the ministry has a core niche, is to provide the overarching oversight functions over all of these institutions that have been mentioned. Ladies and gentlemen, the MFR further emphasizes the need to strengthen partnership and collaborative engagement and enhance complementarity in delivering the overall agenda of this government. In this regard, attention is directed to capacity enhancement. As mentioned by the minister, we are about undertaking a very critical task, and that task is a human resource capacity needs assessment to know exactly what we have and how can we move forward, and then identify the gaps. Guided by the terms of reference detected by the technical working group chaired by the Honorable Vice President, findings and recommendations deduced from DEX reviews, structured and semi-structured interviews conducted with staff of this ministry and other critical stakeholders of the public service environment. This methodology and approaches were complemented by a detailed assessment of the background of the ministry itself. Remember, an MFR was conducted for this ministry. This exercise also focused on assessing the staff requirements and the right skills mix required to achieve what has been given to the Honorable Minister to undertake. A triangulation of responses from key informants within the public and civil service further help to deepen the understanding of the prospects and challenges to justify the needs for the establishment of additional directorates and other key functions and units for the effective functioning of this ministry. From the presentation, you will see some of these directorates that have been added to the ministry to give full functionality to this ministry. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, at this junction, I want to congratulate the Honorable Minister himself, Honorable Minister Amara Kalon, for taking this bold step and for making history and serving as the first Minister of Public Administration and Political Affairs with a resounding mandate of revamping the public sector architecture. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, let me now take you through the presentations and let us see what this ministry will look like. Thank you very much.